Lakers are looking to bounce back from a defeat against the Trailblazers as they begin their first road trip of the season with a pair of games in San Antonio.
3, 2, 1. The Lakers are the world champion.
Pass is under to Will. He puts it up and slams.
This pass out of front, broken up by Worthy. Tip to Magic. Worthy dies on his belly. Magic scores.
Boy, was that a sensational pass by Magic.
On a hook shot at 12. Good! 12-footer, good!
Magic right side to Worthy. Slam.
An 81-point game.
I couldn't even dream of this when I was a kid. Just no way possible.
To put the champagne away.
3 straight NBA championships.
The Lakers repeat back-to-back titles.
Our goal is to win every night, and that's what it's all about.
I've been very fortunate to play some games on my birthday, and this will be another opportunity for me to play the game that I love and also just celebrate another year of existence. I'm happy to be, like I said, doing what I love to do.
And we are an hour away from tip-off as the Lakers look to avoid losing back-to-back games for the first time this year. Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers, brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. I'm Chris McGee, Hall of Famer, big game, James Worthy. Big shot, Robert Horry is here. Allie Clifton is here. We got Trudell in the green room handling some business. We got Brez at home working virtually, so the whole gang a part of the show. First up, we also have some news, Rob. For the second game in a row, the Lakers will be missing a key piece off the bench. Guard Alex Caruso did not travel with the team to San Antonio for their two-game set against the Spurs. News came down Monday before the Trailblazers game that Caruso is being held out due to NBA health and safety protocols. The NBA announced today they had 0 new positive COVID cases of the 495 players tested since Christmas Eve, December 24th. So let's throw it out to Mike Trudell, who's actually down the hall for the Lakers' first road trip of the season. Mike, a little bit of easier travel this year for you, seems like.
I kind of missed my room back here, guys. Does it get a little lonely? Yes. Okay.
Sure,
but I have plenty of time to focus on the craft at hand and to think about my conversations with Frank Vogel. And in this case, I was just curious how this whole situation, and of course revolving around the pandemic, how that impacted the way that he preps for a game, that he preps his players for the game, that he and his coaches go back and forth, all the travel, of course, as they're in San Antonio. So that's where we started with Frank Vogel, and then we dove into the matchup a little bit. Here's the head coach.
Well, it's still a challenge in the morning with the rapid testing. We chose not to have a shoot around because there's just still uncertainty about the turnaround time when we're on the road in these new cities, and we'll continue to navigate that. But we had a lot of success last year. Just giving an optional shooting window for our guys, and for now that'll be the plan because of the rapid testing.
You talked about how much this team likes getting in the film room. Just wondered what you saw from your last session from the previous game, Frank, that stood out in preparation for this one.
Yeah, definitely a lot of things we could have done better. Respect to Portland, they played a great game, but there's a lot of ways that we could have been more disciplined with our coverages. Tougher in certain situations defensively, making plays at the rim, and I think offensively. We put on a passing clinic against the Timberwolves, and, we just didn't see that kind of ball movement against Portland.
And Coach Popovich said that it's going to be Jakob Poeltl starting for Aldridge, apparently has a sore knee. Just wondered how that could impact the scouting report for you and how you approach the game, if at all.
Yeah, well, Aldridge is one of the best bigs in the game, and, so it certainly changes them. But more minutes for Poeltl means more energy. I mean, he's one of the best energy guys in the game. Dynamic roller, rebounder, toughness guy. And, you probably see more small lineups as well, with potentially seeing Gay or Lyles or some of those guys slide over to the 5.
Frank, beyond it being LeBron's 36th birthday, he can also go for 1,000 straight games with 10 or more points if he reaches double digits tonight. Usually he's taking care of that early on in the game, many times in the first quarter. But as his coach, are you aware of that stat? And is it ever something, not that you're going to affect the way you coach the game, but is it ever in the back of your mind, say he's at 7 points heading into the fourth quarter or something?
Yeah, I mean, I think you always try to be cognizant of those types of things. I did not know about that stat until you just told me. So, it's one of those things. Like I like to prefer to comment on those things after they happen. But certainly, make sure the ball's in his hands plenty tonight.
As always, it will be right. The ball's going to be in LeBron's hands. And yet another mark, and I know this isn't like an official record, but getting to 1,000 games, pretty crazy, as is really the rest of his career. Geeter and all of the production that we've seen from LeBron, just add to the list, right? Add it to the list.
Every single night, Mike, there's another milestone. It's pretty incredible. All right, Mike Trudell, appreciate you, buddy. Good work. Lakers, tough loss against Portland after leading for 3 quarters. I believe they were 57-0 last year, leading after 3, but this is a new year. Big game, I want to start with you. You're looking for some improvements from this team, especially on the defensive end. Without the shot blockers like JaVale and Dwight out there, this team's a little bit different.
A little bit different. And, I'm patient. I know they're going to work their way into it. They don't have the shot blockers. They don't have the size. And so when you think about, allowing 45% per night, and, Geeter, here's the one, 50 points in the paint. That's an average for opponents right now, and so they have to do a better job on the perimeter and not let people get in for uncontested. All these layups we're seeing right now would be nullified last year with Dwight, McGee. It'd be just a little bit tougher. So not to say that they don't have shot blockers. AD for sure. Mark's not really a leaper. Montrez, he picks up a lot of charges before you get to the bucket. So I think that's going to be a big challenge for them going forward. The teams know they don't have that size anymore. So already you're seeing teams starting to attack the bucket. So it's going to put a lot of pressure on the perimeter players. I know they were without Caruso, which would have helped a lot, but still, they were going up against a dynamic duo, though, weren't they? And then Trent Jr. got hot.
Trent Jr., who had 0 points on Saturday.
I don't know. I don't know if it'll matter who was on the court that night. Those guys were hot. But
those guys were hot.
But the defense, I think, is something without Dwight Howard in particular, who kind of mucks things up time to time. I think they're going to have to, work on that.
No question, James. You bring up a great point. It's definitely going to be a theme this season. Rob, you and I talked after that loss to Portland, and you were not concerned through 4 games with what you've seen from this team. You thought you saw a lot of positives, but on the defensive end, a lot of room for improvement in your eyes too?
Yes, a lot of room for improvement. It's a funny thing, if you look at all those clips, it was about, 15 clips, and only one had AD in it? And so that lets you know right there that when AD's out the game, the Lakers really got to hunker down and play good defense on the perimeter, because this game now is all about driving and kicking. And if you're able to stay in front of your guy and know where your guy is and know where your shooters are at all times, because there's a couple times where Trent is hot, you take that extra step closer to him, not away from him, to get to the shooter. And I think it's just all recognition they got to do. And they're going to improve. It's still early. And we also have to understand the personnel is different. It's not the same team because they added pieces and they got to know the lingo and the way they play.
I think you brought up a great point. I mean, AD arguably the best defensive player protecting the rim in the league. And when he's not in, it's a struggle because they don't have that length of JaVale and Dwight like they did last year during the regular season. Lakers and Spurs coming up at 5:30 here on Spectrum Sportsnet. Montrezl Harrell failed to score in double figures for the first time this season on Monday. Look for him to be more